There are over 900 moves in Pokemon, and while a majority are unique in some way, there are a handful that are exactly the same. Today we are going over moves that would provide exactly the same effect in battle. For attacking moves, this considers type, power, and accuracy, except some specific cases. For status moves, we are just looking at the same effect, so agility and rock polish would count even though they have different typings, since they accomplish the same thing. There are some obscure moves I forgot about covered here, so let me know if you knew all of these or if you learned about a new move. Let's go. False Swipe is a well-known move in game for its use of getting wild Pokemon down to 1 HP. This makes it easier to catch those pesky legendaries. While False Swipe was introduced in Generation 2, the move Hold Back was introduced in Generation 6 and serves the same purpose of always leaving the target with at least 1 HP. It gave some more mons without access to False Swipe the ability to help catch wild mons, so that's cool. And fun fact, Samurott is the only mon who gets both. The move Metalverse is a steel type attack. Kinda. It is pretty much a combination of counter and mirror coat. It returns damage of any physical or special move by 1.5 times. The trade-off for this is the neutral priority, meaning it won't work if you're faster. Comeuppance is a dark type attack introduced in Generation 9 with the exact same effect. They both have pretty shallow move pools, with Comeuppance being a lot smaller, but this is a case of the move name not making sense for these dark types to get, so they made a new move. Shifting over to some status moves, we have Trick and Switcheroo. These moves switch the target's held item with the users. This is often done to cripple an opponent with a choice item or one with negative effects. Trick was introduced in Generation 3 and Switcheroo the very next gen. It pretty much just widens the move pool of these moves, even though I don't see too much of a thematic difference that justifies both of them existing. Also, there's a handful of mons that can learn both. There are a few early game moves that have exact same properties. Scratch and Pound are the same move rebranded, seen as a low damage normal type attack. Tackle also fits with these two since Generation 7, as it's been through a few changes, trying to find itself before just being placed on equal grounds with these two other early game moves. Those aren't the only identical early game moves though. Leafage is a 40 base power physical grass type move introduced in Generation 7. It has no secondary effect. The next generation, they decided to introduce the move Branch Poke, mainly for the Grookey line. It has the same base power, accuracy, and lack of secondary effect as Leafage. If you want to get technical, there is a slight difference with these moves, as Leafage doesn't make contact while Branch Poke does, so that would interact with some abilities, but they are essentially just the same move. Both accurate, but low power starter moves to gain XP and levels before you get into the big boy moves. One I alluded to in the beginning was Agility and Rock Polish. These moves both raise your speed by 2 stages, making them interchangeable. But there is a third move to go along with these. This is Autonomize. These moves all have different PP, but have the same properties otherwise. Autonomize carries a unique effect of lowering the user's weight by 100 kilos per use, which could possibly come into play with certain weight-based moves, but it's such a negligible effect that I felt I should still include it here. So this next one is just plain dumb. It's for the identical Gen 1 moves Fury Attack and Barrage. These physical, normal type, multi-strike moves each have 85% accuracy and 20 PP. Barrage is a signature move of the Executor line and was likely made to have a multi-strike attack that fits them, since Fury Swipes, Fury Attack, Double Slap, Spike Cannon, and Comet Punch all don't make complete sense for these eggs to learn. Regardless, they just made it the same as Fury Attack. I think they could at least make the signature move a bit more accurate, but this is Gen 1 we're talking about, where they hate level up movesets and want to make the early game as painful as possible. A less dumb one I understand is between the moves Foresight and Odor Sleuth. These normal type status moves both have the effect of identifying the target. This makes it so ghost type Pokemon are able to be hit by normal and fighting type moves. These are genuinely cool moves in my opinion, just not super useful competitively. Foresight is a Gen 2 introduced move, seen on Pokemon that makes sense to identify with their eyesight, while Odor Sleuth is for those mons, the good sniffers, able to catch the scent of the ghost. Moonlight, Synthesis, and Morning Sun are 3 healing moves that heal different amounts based on the weather. Instead of giving them different weathers to flourish in, they all just function the same. Kinda boring, but whatever. They all heal 50% without any weather, 2/3 if in the sun, and just 1/4 if in any other weather. Having 3 different healing moves like this gives a bit more variety of mons with reliable recovery, as it fits different mons thematically, but they are all essentially just the same move with different names. This next pair of moves are like 97% similar, so I'm counting them. This is for a Heal Bell and Aromatherapy. These moves cure any status ailments of the user's team. The 3% difference comes with their interactions with certain abilities. Heal Bell is a sound-based move, so it will actually not affect active allies that have the soundproof ability. This mechanic has had a few different changes, but currently that's the only limitation with this move. Aromatherapy, on the other hand, will activate an ally's Sap Sipper, giving these moves one unique interaction from each other. The Sap Sipper one can at least be beneficial though to give your ally a boost. Now this next one makes me laugh due to the wasted potential. The move Iron Defense raises the user's defense by 2 stages and is a pretty solid move competitively. It has the same properties of Acid Armor and Barrier. These moves do have more PP, making them better options technically if distribution wasn't a factor. And then we have the move Shelter. This is Hisui and Gudra's signature move, and wouldn't you know, it also has the effect of raising the user's defense by 2 stages. But for some reason, it has the least amount of PP out of all of these moves. This makes it functionally equivalent effect-wise, but just works competitively and even in-game, as you are more likely to run out of PP for this move. I get it, it had a different effect in Legends Arceus, but that wasn't a competitive game, and lots of moves had their effects changed to and from that game. Now Shelter isn't a bad move at all, but we do have 2 terrible status moves that have identical effects. 2 55% accurate moves that put the target to sleep. If they hit, of course. At least they aren't the worst sleep moves in singles anymore. But you should never really see these moves used competitively. 55% in Pokemon means you will likely miss until you get KO'd. They are both sound-based, so they are blocked by soundproof in addition to abilities that prevent sleep. The only difference they have is Grass Whistle gets absorbed by Sap Sipper since it's a grass type move, but that minuscule difference won't exclude it from this list. Coming up next are a pair of legendary signature moves. Jungle Healing and Lunar Blessing are moves exclusive to Zarude and Cresselia respectively. They heal status conditions for the user and their allies, while also healing 25% of their max HP. More effective moves in doubles, but still pretty solid to use in singles on setup sets. Epic move alert for you doubles enjoyers. Everyone should know this one. It's for the moves Protect and Detect. These moves function identically, protecting the user from virtually every move. They have a slight difference with Protect having twice as much PP as Detect, making Protect generally the better option, unless you were trying to avoid imprison threats. But at least Detect has a way cooler animation. Man, is that cool. There are a few trapping moves that share the same effect. Mean Look, Spiderweb, and Block all prevent the opponent from switching out. Spiderweb for some reason has twice as much PP, so it's technically a bit better, but they all cannot miss and pretty much just fit on different mons, giving more trapping options. We went over a couple identical sleep moves in Sing and Grass Whistle. Now we have the next step upgrades to cover. These are the moves Sleep Powder and Lovely Kiss. Sleep Powder is a pretty accessible sleep-inducing move with 75% accuracy. Then we have Lovely Kiss, the signature move of Jinx, also with 75% accuracy. These moves were both introduced in Generation 1 and were on par with each other at the time, with Sleep Powder being a bit better due to more PP. From Generation 5 on, Lovely Kiss does have some benefits over Sleep Powder, thanks to it not being a grass type move or powder based. So Lovely Kiss won't be blocked by Sap Sipper, Overcoat, or blocked by the item Safety Goggles. It's always funny when we have signature moves introduced that just do the same thing as a pre-existing move. A good example are the moves Nature's Madness and Ruination. Nature's Madness is exclusive to the Gen 7 Tapus, and Ruination to the Gen 9 Treasures of Ruin. These 90% accurate moves cut the target's current HP in half. So if they're at full health, they go down to 50%, and if they're at 50%, they go down to 25%. Solid moves. I just think it's comical that you get the same move when leveling up your early route rodents in Super Fang. It's a pretty accessible move, being a tutor and now a TM, while Ruination and Nature's Madness are identical in every way besides name and typing. Super Fang has a slight difference of being physical and making contact. The physical part doesn't really matter as it's fixed damage, but the contact aspect is usually just a negative attribute as it can proc harmful abilities. It also is the only one of the 3 moves with an immunity, so the legendary signature moves are at least a tiny bit better overall. A couple moves that are never seen competitively are Mind Reader and Lock On. These moves have the same effect. Until the end of the next turn, the target cannot avoid the user's moves. So there is actually a way to hit a Focus Blast for all you haters out there. This will also still hit a target using moves like Dig or Fly. The downsides of these moves are the target can just switch out and the replacement will not be affected, so it's easy to play around. It also is taking up a valuable move slot. Competitively, you are using a whole turn to presumably try and hit a low accuracy attack, when it might just be better to use a more reliable attack twice in that span. Anyways, Lock-On is seen more on magnet related Pokemon, while Mind Reader is seen more on Pokemon who appear to be skilled fighters or have strong senses. Tail Whip and Leer are the same move in every aspect besides name. Normal type at 30 PP with the same effect of lowering defense by 1 stage. They also share the property of targeting both foes in a double battle, just different distribution, as these are early game moves distributed to tons of Pokemon, and it makes sense to split it up a bit. You might think that I'd forget these next moves, but I really do think of everything, don't I? The moves Splash, Celebrate, and Hold Hands are notorious for having no effect in battle. They are useless moves, sharing the normal type, in such high amounts of PP. The funny thing is, these moves had more of an impact competitively than probably 50 to 60% of all moves. Don't quote my percentages. This was thanks to Z moves giving status moves additional effects when powered up with Z crystals. Splash actually became useful as it raised their user's attack by 3 stages. Meanwhile, Celebrate and Hold Hands actually gave an Omni boost to the user, which is crazy, and a lot of mons took advantage of it. The Z crystal had the additional benefit of not being able to be tricked or knocked off, giving a little bit more reason to use these moves in an actual competitive situation. There are a lot of healing moves, and even though some are unique, a good chunk of them are identical. Recover, Milk Drink, Soft Boiled, Slack Off, and Heal Order all function exactly the same. They heal the user by 50% of their max HP. They all have 5 PP now, besides Heal Order, which hasn't appeared in the latest gen to get nerfed. These healing moves aren't affected by weather like some other ones, and besides Heal Order, they are all normal type moves. Outside of Recover, all of these have relatively small move pools, so I guess it sort of just expands the recovery move pool. I like to mention Roost here as it heals 50% as well, but it has the additional effect of removing the user's flying type for the rest of the turn, so it is mechanically different. Charm and Feather Dance are pretty decent status moves. They lower the target's attack by 2 stages. Feather Dance is seen on bird-like Pokemon, while Charm has a general theme of being on Pokemon in the fairy, field, and human-like egg groups. But there are a lot of outliers that don't look like they should be able to use this move. Not too much charming about these guys. Anyone else confused that Charm isn't blocked by the Oblivious ability when it blocks Captivate? I guess it's not gender-based, but still they are a pretty similar concept. Sand Attack, Smokescreen, and Flash are moves that lowers a target's accuracy by 1 stage. They all have 100% accuracy, at least now. Flash was just such a horrible move from gens 1 to 3. These moves aren't really seen competitively, but they are sure seen in early game situations and are great at grinding your gears and making simple battles last way longer than they should. A fun but sad fact is that these moves are all superior to Alakazam's signature move Kinesis that also lowers accuracy but has worse accuracy itself. The phasing moves Roar and Whirlwind are virtually the same. They force the target to switch out and drag a random ally in. Both are normal type Gen 1 moves with 20 PP that can't miss, that just interact with a couple abilities. Roar is a sound-based move and will not affect soundproof Pokemon. Whirlwind, on the other hand, is a wind move and won't affect Wind Rider Pokemon, but funnily enough, won't even activate wind power. What a trash ability. I have a couple more to get through that are identical in almost all situations, starting with a classic. We have Withdraw and Harden. These 2 moves are identical besides PP, and raise the user's defense stat by 1 stage. You'll remember Harden from being OP in the Pokemon anime. There is a 3rd move in Defense Curl that also raises defense by 1 stage, except it has an additional effect of doubling the power of the moves Rollout and Ice Ball if Defense Curl was used before them. This combo makes Defense Curl better, even though you will be hard pressed to see it in the moves it boosts competitively. In-game playthroughs though, forget about it. Return and Frustration are wonderful normal stab attacks taken from us in Gen 8. They are based on the power of friendship and can reach a max base power of 102 and minimum base power of 1. They just work opposite of each other. Return will get stronger the higher the friendship value, while frustration will get stronger the more you beat your Pokemon. These are interchangeable competitively, really only coming into play if a Ditto copies you, where frustration is usually a better pick, as most people will keep their Ditto at max friendship. Heal Pulse and Floral Healing are interesting ones. They both heal allies up to 50% of their max HP, but they each have their own ways to boost their healing. Heal Pulse is actually boosted by Mega Launcher, as some of you may know, so the 50% healing of an ally turns to a crazy 75%, making it a great support combo that unfortunately only Clawitzer can use. Floral Healing, the signature move of Comfey by the way, gets boosted if grassy terrain is in effect, turning that 50% healing to a really solid 2/3 of the target's max HP. This is a way more likely combo to be seen, as Comfey's triage ability gives its healing moves priority, making this its most common move to run in the doubles formats. The second last pairing to cover are the moves Sharpen and Meditate. These basic setup moves increase their user's attack stat by 1 stage. Nothing fancy, and not good or seen competitively, as better options exist. These two moves had a third sibling prior to Generation 8 in Howl. Howl also increases the user's attack stat by 1 stage, and besides being sound based, it's identical in singles play. But it was buffed in Gen 8 to increase the user's and any ally's attack stat by 1 stage, unless the ally has soundproof of course. This actually lets it see some competitive use, as giving yourself a +1 attack isn't really worth it to dedicate a move slot to, but when you are also increasing your ally's attack, then you are getting a lot more benefit out of the move. You see it very commonly on Gouging Fire, and some other hounds incorporate it into their move pool too. The last moves to cover are VGC favorites. These are the Redirection moves, Follow Me, and Rage Powder. These moves both see heavy use in doubles and are useless in singles. Follow Me and Rage Powder cause the user to become the center of attention, and all moves from foes will target the user instead of the ally. They have the same PP and priority, while both not having huge distribution pools. Follow Me is just strictly a better move though, as Rage Powder is obviously a powder move, meaning that grass types, Pokemon with the Overcoat ability, and ones holding safety goggles will ignore its effects. The chances of your opponent having at least one of those factors on their team is pretty decent, as they also block moves like Spore, so Follow Me is just more reliable. Other than that, they serve the same purpose, but I wouldn't call these identical. Definitely wanted to include them on the list though. So those are the moves that are the same, or virtually the same. Did I miss any? Which identical moves do you think are the most pointless to have added? Let me know in the comments. Don't forget to become a bud and hit that sub, and if you enjoyed this video, make sure you check this one out next. Thanks for watching, buds.